Hey, this is Jack, and this video is called He's Not Your Guy. Hey, my name's Jack Butler. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here or you haven't yet subscribed, I want to invite you to subscribe. I release videos all the time on relationships and personal growth, and this channel is devoted to real personal development, not tricks, tips, or gimmicks, kind of the real stuff. So if you want a more real set of teachings than you're getting on YouTube, again, I'd really encourage you to subscribe. Hit subscribe, and then tap that bell notification so you hear of new videos as soon as they come out. All right, so today's video, He's Not Your Guy. What is this all about? So I want to say that he's not your guy if he hasn't proved himself to be consistent with you over at least 6 to 9 months. I'm just going to say that again so it sinks in. He's not your guy unless he's proved to you that he's consistent with you over at least 6 to 9 months. And as a caveat right off the bat, that's not to say that if a guy has been consistent with you for that amount of time, that he is definitely your guy. It's just to say that if he hasn't, you don't want to think of him in that way, right? So this is, fancy speak, this is what we call necessary but not sufficient. It basically means this is kind of like a necessary condition. But you might have had the experience of a guy that's shown up for longer than you and hasn't ended up being your guy. Right? And for clarity, when I'm talking about being your guy, I'm talking about that you guys have the ability to be in a long-term relationship, right? We don't necessarily get to determine on this front end whether that's going to be super long-term or medium long-term, but I'm really trying to help you distinguish the guy that has that kind of potential for you versus the guy that is really a cameo in your play. He is a side appearance. He is a temporary blip on your radar. And what I want to particularly help you avoid is the kind of guy that is, in actuality, is a cameo in your play, but is kind of showing up to you as something different than that you're kind of getting stuck or hung up on a guy that actually isn't worthy of that level of attention because he was never more than that to you, right? And again, none of this is really about making people wrong and right or experiencing or labeling a guy as malicious. It's just kind of saying it's better for you to invest in guys that are investable. Right? There's still risks. We still don't know whether it's all going to work out. But you investing in a guy that's actually a drop-off guy. You investing in a guy that's kind of a mergy guy that actually hasn't got his own life in order. You investing in a guy that is hot and cold guy. You investing in a guy that only hits you up when he feels lonely. This is not the recipe for relational fulfillment. It's also not the recipe for relational growth. Right? So if you want to use relationship to grow and be more conscious, you actually want someone that can play with you over a minimum effective dose of time, right? You actually you get to grow together, you get to experience things, you get to see each other's edges and try and work them and help them. Okay, so I put this condition of 6 to 9 months in place because I noticed that people were saying to me, but he has been consistent. And I'd be like, okay, tell me about that. And when we drilled down into the detail, what I realized is that people were calling consistent was that someone has consistently sent them messages on a dating app, or that someone has been consistent texting them, right? But maybe you've actually not even got together in person, or maybe you have once or twice. But now, he's on the other side of the country and he's staying in touch by text, but you don't really have a real-time connection. You don't have a next time on the calendar to get together. He's not really furthering the connection, pushing it forward. So I was like, you know what? Let me just give someone a bit more of a robust criteria. When I say consistent, I mean that he is connecting with you consistently over 6 to 9 months, that he's consistent in following through on the things he says he's going to do, that there's the kind of this sort of modulation to the connection, not like this and then whoa, drop off, and then I don't hear from him for a week, and then oh, he's back in, and then I don't hear from him for 2 weeks, right? It's like the antithesis of that. It's something that's got a sort of a continuity to it, right? It's almost like the hills of the rolling hills of the English countryside rather than the kind of peaks and valleys of a Pacific Ocean trench or even the more jagged structure of the Rockies here. It's like, you know what? It's got more consistency to it. There's more of a flow and an orientation and an ongoing connection. And if you can't meet that standard, you've got to get curious about that. You've got to get curious about, why am I participating in a dynamic where he kind of drops off and I have no idea where I stand with him, or he's never even given me any idea of where I stand with him, right? That's just not been part of the conversation, or he's a great pen pal, but he's not really a great lover and partner because he's never even moved into those realms. And so I'm not going to start taking pen pal guy and try and make him into something that he actually isn't, right? I'm going to see this clearly. Now, pen pal guy may upshift may upgrade into something more seriously. Probabilistically, I wouldn't be as a betting man, not that I am a betting man, but if I were a betting man, that's not where I'd be putting my money. I'll be honest, like probabilistically, most pen pals, they don't upgrade. It's like that kind of foundational energy and connection, there's something important to it. And if he's actually not clear, again, this is what we call impersonally to you, right? If he's not clear impersonally to you that he's available for a relationship, then he'll often want pen pals. Why? Because guys want connection. Guys always want connection. Guys that like women always want connection with women or a woman. That's pretty much just how it goes. Does that mean they're available for a relationship? Absolutely not. Does that mean they're available to be more than a pen pal guy? Often, absolutely not. Right? So consistency, if we actually haven't been getting together for dates, right? And I'm talking about 5 dates, 10 dates, 15 dates, 20 dates, right? After 20 dates, you might be able to report back to me something about his consistency. After 5 dates, not really. After 0 dates, absolutely not, right? So do you see how we're just raising the bar about the qualitative nature of a connection that is proved over time, and that there's a substance and there's a robustness and there's an initiative that is behind the connection from his side. Now you get to choose, obviously, is this a guy I want to stay connected with? Every time you have a date, you get to ask yourself the question, do I want to go on another date, whether he asks me or not? But I'm going to be in those kind of units of next date, next date, next date, until we get up into that. We've been on so many dates, I couldn't actually tell you how many, and that we're probably connected between dates, right? We have phone calls and video calls. Now we're starting to get into the realm of what could be the early stages of some kind of consistency. But even that, I'm saying just don't draw conclusions. Don't draw any premature conclusions. Let it be shown. Take your time. As I sometimes say, time's your friend in this. Right? The right guy doesn't become the wrong guy because you took it too slow. The right guy doesn't become the wrong guy because you weren't willing after 1 month of him being your pen pal to make him your partner, right? Let's just get real with this. And sometimes guys might get upset with you, and this might have been a difficult thing in the past, where a guy's like, oh, you're high maintenance, or you want too much. Now, it's generally the guy that's not your guy that says that, right? Could it be true that there are ways that you need to learn to be better at making requests, not demands? You need to be finding ways to meet your needs that aren't just in a relationship. Of course, for a lot of us, that is our own pattern of development. But if you wanted to get together and see a guy in person, or if you wanted to have 2 or 3 times a week where you connect meaningfully, if that's too much for a guy, he's not your guy in the way that I'm describing it. There might be a guy that could be a great love connection for you, right? Where it's like, yeah, we get together when we get together. I haven't seen him in 3 weeks. I know when we get together it will be good, if that's the style of connection that you're available for in this cycle and season of your life. But we want alignment there. If you're only doing that on the hope that you get the upgrade to partner, you don't want to do that. You don't book a flight in economy on the basis that, oh, it might just be that the airline happens to upgrade me to business class. And that if they don't, I wouldn't want to be on that flight. That's not a rational way to proceed. It's also not a rational way to proceed in relationship. If you need him to make you into a partner when actually all objectivity is pointing to the fact that he's only available as a lover, you get your choice there. Loverships can be great. Loverships can be really meaningful. They can teach you things. They can open you to new experiences. It could be a time of your life where that's all you want. You just want to see someone occasionally and know that you can have a great connection and that maybe you can have some fun snuggle time. If that's what you want, that's great. Go for it. But just be clear that that's what you actually want, right? So this is where self-honesty, not deluding or rationalizing to myself, getting really clear, what is my authentic heart's desire? What do I want in my relationship life? For most of you watching, probably you actually want partnership if it were available to you. Now, there is this sort of gray area. You say, well, look, yeah, Jack, I do want partnership, but life is not showing up with that. So what do I do about that? Because I still have needs. I still want to connect. I still want to be seen. I want romance. And yeah, I get it. That can be a difficult space because we need to make sure that you're not getting so in a lovership that when that lovership, as all loverships do, right, when it dissolves, that you're not left feeling like, wow, I was betrayed or lured or I got the rug pulled, or that I'm just kind of really in love with this guy because we've actually been romantic and sexual and I didn't really realize that maybe unconsciously I needed this to continue, right? So it's sort of like, buyer beware. It's kind of like lover beware. Just beware that if you start exchanging a certain kind of energy with someone, that chances are, if you do that a few times, you're probably going to bond and be a bit attached. So that's why this space can be tricky. You know, it often works best for people where structurally there's some kind of reason that they couldn't be in partnership, right? That maybe they are, they're still unwinding a very significant, partnership or marriage, and so it's in integrity that they can have a love connection elsewhere because they're fully separated and maybe they've just got the last bit of things to go through, but they're clear, I can't make a stand with someone, and so I'm not expecting someone to make a stand with me, right? I'm just not in that cycle. I'm in the kind of like, I just need to kind of blow out the pipes, have something light. That's where lovership can really be great, but so often it's not aligned that two people are actually, that's what the only thing that they want, right? Often it's maybe one is only available for lovership, but the other starts to fall more deeply and then wants partnership. So I'm just giving you the kind of caveats on the front end with that. But if what you want really is partnership, then that's how you need to set your stall out, to yourself, to men, to the universe, to your friends, just being clear that that's what you want. You may occasionally take an experience because, you're like, I want to still have fun and feel connection, but you're just very clear that's what you're doing. It's a bit like, I want a full-time job, and occasionally I take a self-employed gig because I need to make some money and I need to support myself. But I'm just really clear about what that is. That is a temporary mechanism to support me in this season of my life. That is not me saying I don't want a full-time job. That's not me giving ambivalent energy to the universe. I'm actually clear what I want. I'm clear in my heart and I'm clear in my communication. So if I start communicating with a guy and he's really just a pen pal guy, I actually say, hey, it's been nice connecting with you. I'm looking for something serious in relationship, and my intuition tells me that that's clearly not what's available here. I wish you well. And you don't have to get in an argument about it. Like if the guy comes back and, it pushes back on you and says, hey, you're high maintenance, or, oh my God, why are you taking everything so seriously? Can't you just be fun and friendly? Fine, let him have his experience. You do you, I'll do me. I'm clear what I want, and I know when a guy is coming towards me with that kind of energy. That's the thing, I trust my discernment. Pen pal guy won't know that because pen pal guy isn't at a stage, and he may even have never been that to any woman. He may have come with the energy of, I'm clear that I want a serious relationship and I'm looking at you in that light. I don't know if it's going to work out yet. We've only just met each other, but that's the energy that I'm bringing to the table. He may not even know what that's like, so he can't talk about it. It's just beyond his experience. Or he's so not in that season of his life that to maybe rationalize to himself that pen pal is okay. And by the way, pen pal is okay. It's not okay if that's not what you want, right? So I'm not making pen pal guy wrong. I'm just saying if he starts to get defensive about it, you need to just trust yourself there. We don't need to get into an argument about it because you'll know it, right? You'll know it when it's coming towards you, right? You know it when there's a dessert in a restaurant that you're like, yes, this was a great dessert. I don't need to get into an argument with the chef about it. I know what I want. I know what I'm about. I trust myself. I trust my experience. And if some guy is coming towards me with 6 to 9 months or more of consistent partnership style energy, it is like night and day versus pen pal guy, or drop off guy, or mergy guy, or you're the solution to my problems guy, or hot and cold guy, or any other guy that is a cameo in your life versus a mainstream player, right? That's what this comes down to, is can we do something substantive, or are we kind of messing around? Are we doing something that's in and out, lighthearted, and there's a season for that? And I'm not in that season, so thank you very much. That's not where I'm going to be putting my attention. And I do it with love. I don't need to reject you. I don't need to have you feel bad about yourself. It's just not a fit. I'm just clear. And it's like there's almost not a sight in me where a guy saying, well, you're being high maintenance, or you're being too defensive, you're being this. It's kind of like, cool, buddy. Cool. Happy you're having that experience. You're entitled to your view of me because I've done some work, so I'm not going to take you too personally. Your view of me is what? Yes, it's your business, not mine. Thanks for sharing it with me, but I don't need to be in a debate with you about that. When I've had this in work relationships, right, where it's just like it's substantively not working, and we could get into all sorts of commentary about why it is, or you said this, or you didn't send me that email, or you didn't follow up quick enough, but it's kind of like noise. It's kind of a sideshow because we're taking a thing that's not even working, and now we're trying to dissect that at length to maybe allocate some kind of blame or see if it can, but it's like it's so not working that it can't actually be improved. The improvement's even a 50% improvement, which is dramatic, is still, let's just put this into mathematical terms. It's a 0.2, not a 1. So even a 50% improvement on a 0.2 is 0.3. It's still a hell of a long way from a 1. right? So we don't want to be in that game. We want to be in the, okay, we're in the 0.8 to 1, or we're already in a 1 range, and then, yeah, maybe there's some things we can talk about improving, or ways that we communicate, or ways that we miss each other. But we're in the arena together, rather than all this commentary about something scuffle that happened outside the arena. We're not even in the arena, we're not even playing the game. You know, it's hard because we want to be right, or we want to feel vindicated, or we want to feel seen, or we want to feel like someone else gets our perspective. Let's leave the feeling seen to someone who's in the partner game. Pen pal guy doesn't need to see you. Pen pal guy doesn't need to get why you think he's a pen pal guy. You know, if he's really curious and he's like, hey, this is just for me, this is just for my development, could you help me out here? You might be gracious and help him out. Give him your view and your perspective. But if any of that is about trying to justify what the connection is or isn't, or how you've shown up in it, I would just put that to one side and say, you know what, I'm focusing on what I really want in my life, and this is a distraction, basically. And if needs be, you just step out. You can say something graceful, but it's sort of like, I don't need a huge conversation about this. That's not what I'm needing. I don't need to have a huge debrief conversation with pen pal guy. I need to focus on, is there a guy that wants to do something more serious with me? And until I get that, I'm going to keep clearing my field, because all these places that I leak energy are taking energy from the main event, right? All these places that I have these side gigs that aren't the full-time job that I want, they basically take energy from that. And sometimes I need to do them because they're necessary little steps, but I get increasingly clear and ruthless in my focus on what it is that I actually want. So consistency is not what pen pal guys is about. Consistency isn't I can text you consistently. Consistency is that I show up in real time with you several times a week, ongoingly, week after week, and I make stuff happen, and I create opportunities for us, and I show up for you, and you'll just know what that is like. And maybe you're like, well, I don't, because I've never had that. Okay, just trust yourself that you've never had it, and that it will feel different. Even if it's like, okay, I don't know what this particular food tastes like, but I just know that I'm looking for a taste that I haven't tasted before. Even if that's your frame, that will probably serve you more than trying to make some kind of hot and cold, mergy, drop-off guy into something that he actually isn't. Because that equals pain, and it also equals I'm now having to disbelieve myself. I'm lowering my trust in myself in order to fit something into a narrative that's not actually true. And that's not great, right? We want to be relaxing our stories so that we can trust ourselves and our intuition increasingly, more and more. Like more and more I trust myself. More and more I know what I want. More and more I see clearly. More and more I sober up and I'm able to let these connections go that aren't the main event, because I want the main event, right? I want an actual partnership, and I want a guy that can show up with the kind of consistent energy that would have my observing as your friend or coach saying, yeah, this is a guy that's showing up. You get to decide whether you want this guy in your life, but yeah, he's meeting the showing up standard. So if you want to know more about meeting the showing up standard, and this style of video has been helpful for you, I want to encourage you to click the link and download my He's Your Guy checklist, because 6 to 9 months consistency is a point on my 9-point checklist. And again, this is what we call necessary but not sufficient. I'm giving you all the criteria to say, is this a guy that even should be in the arena playing with you? You get to decide a lot from there. You get to decide who he is for you. But this is about weeding out and taking your time and energy from the guys that aren't investable. Like, let's put that energy where it's actually worth. So if you've got a guy in your life right now, or even if you're just thinking hypothetically about getting into a relationship, click the link, download the He's Your Guy checklist. It will be a useful companion for you. You can run any guy through it, or you can even run a historic relationship through it, just so you get clear, okay, yeah, he was showing up maybe in these ways, but not these other important ways, right? He wasn't introducing me into multiple domains of his life. Okay, now I can notice that next time. Now I'm better prepared. And if you get through this and your guy doesn't meet at least 8 of the 9, I would really struggle to imagine that he's your guy. So there might be a little bit of reality and sobriety check. But click that link, download the He's Your Guy checklist. Don't forget, like this video, subscribe to the channel, bash subscribe, tap the bell notification so you hear of new videos as soon as they come out. I'm Jack, thanks for being here. I hope you like this video.